So, oh, yeah, we'll start recording. Definitely put in the chat if you've got any questions. We can stop at any point. Otherwise, feel free to email us after if you'd like, and we'll ask questions at the end as well. So we'll start with sharing our screen, and Sarah's going to explain how to do some custom reporting.
Perfect. Right, so hopefully you're about to start seeing my screen. If anyone has any problems hearing us, just pop it in the chat and we will try and address that. I will just get myself sorted. Perfect, so everyone should be all right. I don't think I've had any chats to say they can't hear us. Perfect, right, well, we'll just get started. So we're going to look at two reports today. The first one's our profit and loss report, and the second one will be our balance sheet report. Now, these are both great reports to run, and they're particularly good to run sort of at the start of the month for prior month periods. Two main things we want to do before we run any reports is make sure our bank account is reconciled. So we're here on the demo company, and this particular demo company has 28 items unreconciled. Now, I'm not going to reconcile those today, but normally we would want them reconciled up to the date of the making sure that we're pulling those reports. And then the second thing we want to do is we want to run our depreciation. Now, the reason we want to run our depreciation is because we might have assets that are writing down each month, and we're allowed to claim a portion of that in our profit and loss. So to run our depreciation, we would hit the accounting tab up here. We would find fixed assets down the bottom here. And then there's this button here called Run Depreciation. Now we would run this up to the date we want to pull the account. So in our instance, we're going to do the first 4 months of the year. We're going to pretend like today is the 1st or 2nd of August. And we're going to run this up till the 31st of July. So I'm going to select the 31st of July. Xero's automatically populated my depreciation amount based on my fixed assets that are in Xero. Now, even if you've sold assets or purchased assets during the year and these haven't quite been recorded yet by us, it's still a good thing to run your depreciation, because at least you'll get an idea of what the sort of claim is that you're going to get. So once you've hit that, you'll hit the confirm button here. And now we can see that our depreciation has been run to the 31st of July. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to now pull our profit and loss. So under the accounting tab here, most people will have profit and loss automatically pop up. And if you don't, it's just hiding under your reports here. Now, once we pull our profit and loss, it's automatically going to pull in the month usually that we're working in. So the first thing we're going to do is change this to the period that we want it to be. So in this instance, it's the 1st of April 2024 through till the 31st of July. And I'm just going to hit update. And now I can see that I've updated from the 1st of April to the 31st of July. The second thing we want to do is we want to have some comparatives. So we want to have some other columns here showing us what prior period data is. Now to do that, we hit edit layout down the bottom left here. This brings into the background a little bit. And up the top here, there's a button called columns. So when you move your mouse cursor over, it gives you options. One of them is called columns. When we click on columns, we want to select a date. Now, our date column for our comparative will be our last financial year. And in this instance, the last financial years that the Hunter Withers has prepared for this demo company is the 2024 financial year. So I've changed the date range, I've selected financial year, and I've clicked 24. Maybe you wanted to show more than one comparative year. You could show columns, date, and maybe you would hit your financial year for 23 as well, if that was prepared. In this instance, it's not, so we're going to remove it, delete up here, and then we're just going to update our layout. Now we can see that we've got the 2024 comparative year sitting there. So last year we made 9,400. And this year, just between April and July, we've made 32,000. So the next thing we want to do is we want to make our accounts match what our Hunter Withers accounts looked like last year. So sometimes we might have things in the background like our shareholder salaries or maybe income tax expense, and they wouldn't be sitting here. They shouldn't be sitting in our profit and loss. So to do that, we would hit edit layout. Then we would find the code here, shareholder salaries. We would group it, because to pull it below the net profit line, it needs to be in a group. And we would call it shareholder salary, just like your Hunter Withers accounts. Pull it down below the net profit line, and we would do the exact same thing with our income tax expense code. So I've selected it here. I'm going to group it and call it income tax on the right-hand side here. And then I'm going to pull it down underneath shareholder salary there, showing correctly. So this is the net profit before we've allocated any salaries or had the tax on the company. The next thing we want to do is put our formulas in, because we want to see what our net profit after our shareholder salary and income tax expenses. And to add in the formula, we hit our row up here, because now we're working on rows, not columns. So I would hit row, and we want to add a formula. So I'm dragging this below the shareholder salary, and I'm going to call it on the right-hand side under the row heading, my net profit after shareholder salary. So it's very clear. And my formula that I would insert in here would be our net profit, which is this line here, minus our shareholder salary. And then we're going to do exactly the same with our income tax expense. So I'm adding a formula in. I'm going to drag right to the bottom. My title is going to be my net profit after income tax. And my formula is going to be my net profit after shareholder salary minus my income tax expense. Once we're done that, we can hit update layout, and it's going to update. Now, because you're going to have the data in your live Xero file showing shareholder salaries and income tax expense, you're going to have those figures down here, whereas we don't have those figures because this is just the demo company. Okay, maybe the next thing we want to show is our gross profit percentage. So up the top here, you would have a percentage amount of your direct costs, which are these costs up above the line, versus against your income. Now, to add that gross profit percentage, we hit edit layout. We come to our gross profit area, and we come and add a formula again, just like we did for the others. Sometimes it automatically populates at the bottom like that, but that's fine. We can just drag it right to the top. So I've selected it with my cursor, and I'm just moving it up to the top. And I'm going to call it there under the heading gross profit percentage. Now, I always like to do the symbol, because then it's very clear that it is a percentage. And the formula for a gross profit percentage is our gross profit line, so this one here, divided by our trading income, or our top line income, this here, times 100. So I've just clicked these little buttons here for the divide and the times. Then I'm going to hit update layout. And then I can clearly see in this instance here, we've got the gross profit percentage. So for this company, they've at almost 94% of their cost of sales that they're on charging. Okay, the next thing we might want to do is we might want to move some of these overheads that automatically populate down here under operating expenses as a direct cost. Maybe you, in this particular instance, this company, they send out their sales on charge their sales, that's the word. So we're going to pull it above the line. So to do that, we come back to our edit layout. We find the chart code here, which in this instance, it's freight and courier, and we pull it up above the gross profit line. So now I can see it's grouped in with the purchases here under the cost of sales group. And then if I update my layout on the right-hand side here, I can clearly see that now that $100 for the freight is sitting above the gross profit line, and my gross profit percentage has come down ever so slightly. Right, and then the last thing we're going to do with our profit and loss is we're going to group some operating expenses. So maybe you like to group your overhead expenses and your administration expenses. So to do that, we'll hit Edit Layout. We come down to our operating expenses, and we might want to group together our sort of overhead expenses like our rent. So to do that, we would select the chart code that we want to group. We would hit the group button up here and name it. So in this instance, we're going to call it our standing charges. And then I'm going to put the expenses that relate to that in there. So I can see insurance for this client. They've got some rent. They might have had maybe some a lease or something. In this instance, it doesn't look like it. Now we're going to do some admin. So we've got some advertising, some consulting, maybe some bank fees. That all relates, and we're going to group it here. We're going to call it admin expenses on the right-hand side here. And then I'm going to show it open like that. Now, if you want to close them up to show just one line, so in this instance, those standing charges, that was our insurance and our rent, I'm going to close it up, update my layout. And now I can see on my profit and loss, I've got those standing charges here, which is our insurance and our rent. But I wanted to show my administration expenses out in full. So I've left that one open, and I can see that I've got advertising, bank fees, and some consulting all within that admin, along with the total admin expenses cost. So once we're happy that we've got our profit and loss looking the same as our Hunter Withers accounts, and we're happy with the way that they look, we can then save this as a custom report down here. Once we hit custom, we could make this our default and hit save. And now every time we pull that profit and loss, it's going to pull those default settings in regards to all of our rows that we've grouped together and our comparatives. I'm going to move on to the balance sheet now, and then we'll do questions afterwards, if that's all right. Right, so same again with our balance sheet. We hit the accounting tab here, and it would have balance sheet coming up. Now, if we don't automatically have the balance sheet coming up, we can hit under reports here and find the balance sheet. Right, now we're going to do the same thing that we did with our profit and loss, where we pull a comparative year. So it's automatically pulled last year's balance date. We're going to edit our layout, and we're going to pull a new column, a date column, and we're going to pull it to be the end of July. So it's going to be an end of month, and I'm going to find July. There it is. Now I want July sitting on this side, so I'm just pulling it over like I would anything else. Then I can hit update layout. Perfect. So I can see I've got my comparative year there, 31st of March 24, And then I've got my month end date there. Now with your balance sheet, it's probably the most efficient if you pull up your Hunter Withers accounts that you've got and then have a look at how the balance sheet's displayed on those, and make sure that you've got your 31 March figures all sort of grouped together and matching right. So I'll show you how to group these all together now. So I can see that my the first thing we're going to group together is our fixed assets. So these ones here on your Hunter Withers accounts, those will all be grouped for ease of reading. To do that, we're going to hit edit layout. We're going to come and find these fixed assets here, and we're going to select them all. So I've just clicked the shift button on my keyboard, group, and I'm going to call the group fixed assets or property, plant and equipment. And then I'm going to minimize that. So we're just showing the one line. So now I'm going to update my layout. Now I can see I've just got the one line for property, plant and equipment of $2,000 there. The next one that will be quite important is your shareholder or beneficiary current accounts. So quite often you'd have a whole lot of chart codes down here called Joe Blogs Drawings, Joe Blogs Capital, Joe Blogs Private Insurance, etc. Now we want to show that all combined so it agrees with your account. So to do that, we edit again, and we would find all those chart codes. Now this doesn't quite have it, but it does have these ones in there that we will do. So we will find them here, we would group them, and we would name it exactly what it is on our accounts, whether that's a shareholder current account. If it's a trust, it'll be a beneficiary current account. And then we're going to minimize it just like that. And then the next thing we want to check is we want to make sure that that shareholder current account, which it's not showing because there obviously was no data inside it, but we just want to make sure that the total figure that would be pulling over here is the same amount as what's on your last year's accounts. And then you know that you've got all the chart codes included and it's correct. And then the last part on our balance sheet that we want to group up is our income tax codes. So you would have a terminal tax code, a provisional tax code, etc. A withholding tax code, yeah, which is just here, I can see. You want to find all those chart codes and group them together like this and call it your income tax payable, just like it is on your accounts. And you want to group it all up together like that and hit update. And then you'll clearly be able to see if there was data in it, it would be coming through here perfectly. And now your accounts would look exactly like your Hunter Withers accounts. So then once you were happy with the layout and that it was pulling the correct codes into the correct groups, you could then save that as your custom, same as the profit and loss, make it your default. And then every time you pull that balance sheet, it's going to pull all those shareholder current accounts together, all those fixed asset codes together, and all those income tax codes together for ease of reading. Perfect. So that's everything on the profit and loss and balance sheet that we're going to show you today. Do you want to, if you've got any questions, pop them in the question box now related to that reporting, and we will answer those. If not, you can just write them down and we can either do it at the end or once we're finished. Okay, I can't see. Oh. No, perfect. Right, well, we'll carry on. And if you do have a question, just ask it in there and we'll address it at the end. So I'm going to hand you over now to Tristan, who's going to go into the invoicing.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for letting me present on this invoicing that Xero has done and that helpful stuff on the profit and loss and balance sheet. So Xero has updated their invoicing layout. And so I thought I'd just go through the new layout that they've done and some important dates and some cool new features that they've added. So yeah, I think it's important to note that we don't have to panic. What they've done is they've basically just changed the way it looks, and they've changed a few things behind the scenes. But for us, it's still a simple, user-friendly system so we don't have to worry too much. And I think that we can figure it out as we go. So some important dates that I think we should know is that on the 2nd of September, which is coming up pretty soon, Xero will default to their new invoice layout. So if you've been using Xero for a while, you would still have the classic invoicing, but from then it's going to default to the new invoicing layout. And then on the November the 20th, it'll be completely retired. So there will be only the new invoicing will be available, and you will not be able to use classic invoicing. So yeah, I thought we'd just go through some invoicing, and this is a summary that we're all pretty much used to. If we go invoices owed to you, this takes us to a sales overview page. So this is just giving us a snapshot of our sales and our business and what our accounts receivable looks like pretty much. So over here, you can create a new invoice or a quote or a credit note. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are familiar with this screen. So let's create a new invoice together, and we'll just go through and look at these new features that they've added. Just wait for this to load. Yep, there we go. Cool. So one of the new things they've added is auto saving. So if we add Sarah here as a contact, we're going to invoice Sarah. Up here in the top, it is saying saving. And now it says all changes saved as a draft. So that means that it is auto saving as we're going. So we don't have to click the save and close every time. So if I had to cancel this tab, it would save this as a draft invoice, which can be pretty helpful if you're doing a lot of things at once and you forget to save what you're doing. Another thing that they've added is this contact management. So previously, I'd have to go into contacts and edit Sarah, change her number, change her email there. But here, I can just click right on Sarah, click edit, and it allows me to do it right here. This would also allow us to see, let's hypothetically say Sarah owed us money. It would say Sarah owes us invoices of $1,000 or it's overdue of $1,000. So it gives us a brief little snapshot of the exact contact. So with this new layout that they've done, they've given us the ability to customize it a bit more. So if we go to show and hide fields over here, this allows us to take away things that we're seeing. It's not going to affect the customer, and what the client sees is just for us. So if you use items or inventory or you don't use it, let's just take it away and then we'll show you what it looks like. So I've taken that away, and now it's taken that away from this line here. So it's basically just making this a bit more simple for us, a bit more user-friendly. But a lot of people use items and inventory, so I'll pop that back in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add this discount field. Now, discounts have been available for a while in Xero, but the way they've done it is they've adjusted it. So if we just add labor here, hypothetically, for $100, what this discount field, normally if you just put 10, it would take 10%, but now we can have full numbers. So let's say we want to give them a $10 discount. We're giving them putting a 10 number, and we're just pressing enter. It's going to take $10 off that invoice. But if we say 10 and we put percentage sign, it's then going to take 10% of that figure. Or if we take 2% to say discount, it's now taking a 2% of that sales instead of that. So that's something to know about your discount. If you're trying to add a 5% discount or something like that and it's not working because it's giving you $5 off, just know that you have to put that little percentage sign in there now. So yeah, and another thing that they've pulled through to the front, this has been available in Xero for quite a while, but they've now put it more in our face and more on the front end, is this online payments. This allows you to send your invoices and your customers can pay online. You can use PayPal, you can use Stripe or Go Cardless, whatever you want to use. If you want to know more about that, let us know and we can walk you through that process. But let's say we know that Sarah doesn't use online payments, so we can actually turn that off for her. So then it's online payments is none. So that makes it easier if you know that a specific client doesn't need to use online payments. We can change that and make it personal for them. But I'm just going to add it back because I want to show you a cool new feature that they've done. So I'm added that online payments, and I'm going to go to these three dots here. You click on these three dots and you click email. And this is going to show us a preview of exactly what our client is going to see regarding this invoice. So we can see that it's going to be $98. And this review and pay, that's the online payment thing. So if you use PayPal, Stripe, or Go Cardless, I'll be able to click that and it'll take me straight to that system and I can pay you straight away. So if we go here and we're editing, it's going to edit in real time. So we can see exactly how our client's going to see it, what it's going to look like, and how it's going to look for them. So that's a cool new feature they've added. And lastly, this has been around for a couple of years now, a government initiative that they've pushed a bit and they've promoted it the last year, is this e-invoicing. So e-invoicing, in a quick snapshot, if you want to know more about it, let us know. But basically what it is that if I'm invoicing Sarah and I e-invoices, then it's going to send it straight to her MYOB, her Xero, whatever she's using. It's basically going straight from system to system. It allows her to have no data entry, to have less errors, make it a bit quicker. There's currently around 20,000 businesses registered for e-invoicing. And if you're interested in that, let us know and we can help you out with that. But that's the basic layout of the new invoicing system. And I'm going to hand over to Brigitte now, and she's going to show us some cool new features of Xero.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm just going to quickly go through a couple. Now we've only got a few more minutes. So just back on the dashboard, there's been a couple of advances, and you might have already recognized these ones. When you go to reconcile 28 items, there now is a grey field, and it's allowing yourself to search up to 50 line items. Previously, it was only 10 transactions. You can search via the amount, reference, description, making it a lot easier to code particular things the same in this screen. So if we're going into Ridgeway, I can filter and it will bring up there as an invoice as well as their bank fee. So it is a lot easier. You can bring up an amount, and if there was $100, there you go. There's a couple. It's kind of just searching. So a lot easier to potentially find transactions. Another little update is in the cache coding screen. So when you used to use this, you weren't able to dissect transactions that with a percentage. So say we had bakery, Cooper Street Bakery, you can hit the forward bar and bring up this. And previously you could write an entertainment and manually have to divide that $15.75 by 2. They've actually allowed the function to write in the percentage. So if I actually type in 50 and put my percentage in, it will automatically work that calculation out. So again, 50 and then the percentage key above the 5, it will work it out. Yes, slight obviously rounding there, but you can do things like 25% potentially for vehicle allowance, and if you didn't have a rule already set up. So it's just a little quick initiative that they've done. That is the cache coding. Just another advance they've done in the bill screen. So when you're going bills to pay, well, they've made some enhancements so you can actually filter this page. So we're on the current all, and there's now the option to go down to columns. Previously, you had no option. You could filter by them, but you can actually take them away if you didn't want to see the reference. You can also add fields that might be more beneficial for you. So particularly when we're in the waiting payment screen, we can actually now add total, which I find quite useful. And you've got the page, you've got due, and you've got the total. So you can actually see that Century Copiers invoice was actually a total of 163,056. They have paid 900, but of 163 is still owing. So it's just easy to kind of glance at that with those extra filters there. And another feature is under the contacts screen. So under all contacts, they have given a better snapshot of potentially where your money is going in and out of the business. And you can see the recent transactions, for instance, like bills or invoice to a particular contact. Now, if we go to Ridgeway University again, oops, good if I spell it right, Ridgeway, and find Ridgeway University, we can now see this activity bar, either in a graph format where you can hover over and you can see the amount, but it's very easy on the eye to kind of see which periods you receive money from them, or you can look at it in that table format with just the amounts. But it does just summarize all the transactions that are down here quite a lot into a very easy graph to kind of show when things go in to your bank account. So obviously, if you're a bit more seasonal or wanting to kind of nail down onto a particular customer and see when they usually, if you're supplying a hair salon, what months they're really pushing. So that's just another update that they have just recently done. And then finally, I'm just going to show you on my mobile app that we have a new feature that they've released. So I'm just going to bear with me. I'm going to share my screen on my app. Okay, and it's just having a think. That's all good. Now, hold on 1 minute. Love technology. Yep, I'm going to start sharing that. So coming out to Xero, I have just gone into the demo company. Now, you used to be able to always see the cash, which was fine. You could reconcile your transactions. You could obviously see invoices and you can, that are owed. And again, with the bills, but down the bottom, you can actually now see a profit and loss. This feature, you can actually click directly into it and you can show a different period. So this has just come up with the default of being the current month that we're in, comparing against last month. You do have the options. You could look back at last financial year and then it will compare against other options. But it's just a really quick overview. So if you're sitting waiting for something at the dentist and you were just kind of looking at wanting to know how you're going without logging on to your desktop, they now have some extra features there with that profit and loss. So just thought we would let you know. I'm going to take back the share screen. So just 1 minute. Perfect. So you can all see that we don't have any more. If we have any questions, we are more than happy to go through any with anyone if they wanted to put them in the chat. Otherwise, that's 30 minutes, so we'll wrap that up really nicely. If you want any custom reporting or more one-on-one training with that, feel free to get in contact with us and we can definitely help set up your custom reports, potentially maybe that profit and loss and balance sheet looking more like what your financials do. We do understand it's Xero kind of just puts all the codes not so pretty. And anything to do with invoicing, especially that potentially new e-invoicing, if you want to start getting ahead with that, feel free to reach out. But yeah, it's great having you all on today and look forward to the next time. doesn't appear that you've got any questions, so we will leave it there if that's all. Feel free to email. There's no problem at all. Thank you, guys.